Are we about to see the next evolution of Collingwood football in 2025 thanks to Scott Pendlebury? Let's look into it. I can't believe that this is the last week of football until, 6 or so months' time. It is absolutely nuts that this year has already flown by. I'll give you my quick grand final predictions. I think it's going to be Sydney by about 24 points, and Goulden is going to win Norm Smith. I know that's probably a bit cliche to say Goulden's going to win Norm Smith. But this grand final, I don't mind if Brisbane or Sydney win. I really like Chris Fagan. I love what he's doing. He's just won the coaches award for best coach of the year. So congratulations to him. With Sydney, Brodie Grundy, Taylor Adams, it's that Collingwood connection. I don't really like Sydney too much, but I like Brodie, I like Taylor. But Brisbane, to be there to back it up from last season, and what were they, 2-4 at one stage? And I'm extremely jealous. I'm extremely upset. I'm harboring so many feelings, and I'll talk about that on a video that I got coming out on Friday about like a year on from the grand final. But congratulations to them for making it again, going back to back grand final appearances. I wish that was us, but it's not. It's going to be a really good grand final, so I can't wait to watch it. But yeah, I've got Sydney and Goulden for my Norm Smith. Now, before we get into this video, I have still got Swoop hoodies. They're still available. The products are down below. The link is down below as well. There's only about 20 or so left. I'm sending out a bunch today. And also, join the channel membership. There's nearly about 20 of you, which is just blowing my absolute mind. So thank you for that. Nostradamus, if you're watching this, thank you as well for gifting those 5 memberships. I really do appreciate it. It's cheaper than an almond latte is what I keep saying. So I appreciate you all. Let's get into this video. So Scott Pendlebury said something interesting before the Brownlow the other night about the evolution of football and where he wants to see it go next. And it just reminded me that in the interview that I did with Scott Pendlebury, he also mentioned the exact same thing about the evolution of football. And I just sat there thinking when I was watching this the Brownlow, listening to it. I sat there and I'm going, okay, this is interesting because Scott Pendlebury does want to be a coach. Craig McRae leans on Scott Pendlebury a lot. Are we about to see a shift in the way Collingwood thinks about games? And are we going to see the next evolution of football? We brought in the evolution 2022, 2023, and now you're seeing a lot of teams sort of copycat us. Are we going to lead the change in 2025 and get us right to the precipice again? So this is what Scott Pendlebury said on 3AW, and then I'll show you what Scott Pendlebury said when I had a chat with him earlier this year.
Of like, well, when you do have a lead by that much, do you actually go into control, or do you just go, actually, let's take more risks?
That's what you'd do, wouldn't you?
Oh, I think you do. Like, you take more risks. They're going to take more risks, but they're down. They've got to try and win.
But is that a hard thing for you to convince your other 17 teammates?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a shift in the game because, right. If you're down by 28, you're happy to lose. Everyone says we're happy to lose by 10 goals. Well, if you're up by 28, make them lose by 10 goals.
Right.
Don't
protect the 28.
Yeah, don't protect the 28. Protect the 46, and you kick wide to the boundary, try and get a stoppage. But if you don't get a stoppage there, what's open? It's the corridor. So, yeah, I just think I think that will be the next evolution of the game. Is when you're up by 28, don't put a number back. Don't kick wide. Kick down the corridor.
Is that something that you'll have to train?
Yeah, you got to train. You got to practice
did it
it.
in the grand final though last year, didn't you? You were up by 3.
Yeah, we're up by 3, and the sign was up. We'll kick again. We'll go again, and it's amazing how quickly you can score when sides are trying to score themselves because they roll the dice. Their halfbacks get a bit more on the fly. Their fullback gets up the ground a little bit. So, the evolution of footy is definitely going towards scoring, and if you have the lead, don't try and protect it. Win by more.
It's probably the next evolution of football is. When you are 4 goals up at 3/4 time, sides are so good now at, you've heard Fly speak about it as well. It's like you'd rather lose by 10 goals than lose by 4. So sides throw caution to the wind a lot. And I think not just us, but most sides in the AFL are struggling to hold on to their lead. So I'm sure, other clubs are looking at ways now when you're up by 4 goals, maybe the mindset needs to be you need to win by 8. Yeah. So pile on the first 4 or 5. So it's definitely something we're looking at.
So you can see that Scott Pendlebury seems to be a little bit annoyed about when teams are up so much, when they start going defensive, they start going wide, they start slowing down the game, and it lets other teams into the game because they have no fear of losing. He makes a really good point when he says, you know, teams are okay to say they're going to lose by 10 goals, but what about if you win by 10 goals? And it's something that I really noticed from Collingwood this season is when we did have a lead, and I'm talking Fremantle, there was a time in the Gold Coast game as well, the Western Bulldogs game, mainly the losses where the Sydney game, where we would be up by 3 or 4 goals or so, and then we would just switch onto this super defensive mode that we haven't seen Collingwood do for quite a while. And it just started to get really, really, really annoying. And then the teams that are down by 3 or 4 goals, because they just throw caution to the wind and they've got no fear of losing, they start taking the risks. And we're on the back foot and we can't catch up, right? So even Craig McRae says it's harder to hold a lead in football at the moment than it is to come back from behind. And we saw it with GWS. They had Sydney on the ropes, they had Brisbane on the ropes, and then they come, and then Brisbane and Sydney come back, and now they're playing off in the grand final. Technically, it should be GWS in the grand final on Saturday, but they just let the other teams in. They go a little bit defensively, they start going wide, and then they open the floodgates for the other teams. Now, I think it's interesting because this is where I think Collingwood are going to work on next season, and we're going to see a different Collingwood next season. If Scott Pendlebury already has this mentality that he doesn't want to be 4 or 5 goals up and then pause the game, chip kick here, try to hold possession, and he wants to go on and change that 4 or 5 goal lead to an 8 or 9 goal lead, I don't see how this doesn't clash with the coaches if the coaches want to say, okay, if we're 4 goals up at 3/4 time, play super defensively. Scott Pendlebury is going to want to say something. He's been there for 20 years. And like I said before, McRae and the coaches really lean on Pendles' experience. So I think this is where Collingwood is going in 2025, and we are going to be the leaders of it. I know it's very early to sort of say that. We haven't seen, well, obviously there's no practice games yet or anything, so we might see a little bit more of it towards the start of next season. But it just makes a lot of sense where this would be where we're going as a club, because we should have been playing finals, right? When you think about it, the Bulldogs game we were up, I just said, the Fremantle game we were up, there's a bunch of games that we were up, but our mentality was let's hold the lead instead of let's fight for more goals. So hold the lead instead of fight for more goals, and we let the other teams in. So I think that little switch of keep attacking, is it sustainable? We're not really going to know because we don't have any test cases. But I dare say if you're 4 or 5 goals up, you obviously don't want the other team to come in. So you want to keep kicking more goals. How many times this season, just not at Collingwood, just throughout the season, just in general, have we seen teams being 4, 5, 6 goals up and the other team comes back? And it's just that throwing caution to the wind. And Pendlebury makes a great point. If you're 10 goals, if you're saying you'd rather lose by 10 goals and you throw caution to the wind, win by 10 goals instead. Don't let the other teams get a chance. Even the Kangaroos Collingwood game, right? Where we won. The Kangaroos, they tried to stop the game fully, and then they let us in. I know they're a younger team, so it's a little bit different, but if they had kicked 2 or 3, 4 more goals, or maybe even 2 or 3 goals in that third quarter, we don't win that game. But they tried to stop our momentum instead of get their own momentum going again. So I think 2025, we might see that monumental shift again. And I dare say you're probably going to see it across the league. It's just not going to be a Collingwood thing. You will see it across the league, especially the Giants. They'll probably go in and work on that next season. But I don't know, that interview with Pendlebury and then that interview that I had with him kind of moves together, and it gives me a warm feeling inside that we're going to be okay in 2025. And when you think about it, we were only down 7%. We finished 9th. We're only down 7% from making the top 8. You win a game, you win one of those draws, you're into the top 8. So we're not far off it. We just need that mentality shift, because I called it out so many times where I was just sick of us going super defensively when we didn't need to and then losing that lead. And I'll forever remember that Sydney game because that just fucking annoyed me so much. But I am here for this new Collingwood. Again, this is where we're going to go. And I want to view this video back in maybe 6 months time, maybe not 6 months time, halfway through the season, next season, and see if we were right in saying this, and that's what Collingwood are doing, because I am absolutely sick of giving up leads when we don't need to, when we're in a position and we don't need to. There's X, Y, Z factors that you can't account for. It's the injuries, it's the new players, it's the kids, right? I get that. But it's just that slight shift in mentality, slight shift in training, and we'll go on. And 2025, we might, be Sydney, we might be a Geelong where we have a shit season, then come back hard and fight for a premiership again. Let me know your thoughts down below. Is this where you see Collingwood going in 2025? Is there another sort of tactical game plan that you want to see implemented next year? Let me know your thoughts down below. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.